Ladies and gentlemen, friends and seekers of truth, life often feels like a waiting room. You pray, you fast, you knock on heaven's doors, but there's no answer. The silence can feel deafening, and the delay can feel unbearable. You might wonder, does God hear me? Has He forgotten me? But let me tell you something today, God's delays are not His denials. To understand why your prayers might seem delayed, we need to first grasp an essential principle: God operates by His divine timing, not ours. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. You see, God is not just interested in what you ask for, He is deeply invested in when you receive it and who you are when it arrives. Imagine giving a child the keys to a car before they've learned to drive. It wouldn't be a blessing, it would be a burden, even a danger. Similarly, God delays certain prayers because He is preparing you to handle the answer. He isn't just building the blessing, He's building you. In the waiting, God is shaping your character, strengthening your faith, and sharpening your vision. The process might be uncomfortable, but remember, discomfort is the soil in which destiny grows. Don't rush the preparation, because it's in the delay that you are equipped for the promise. Sometimes we pray for things that are good but not aligned with God's ultimate purpose for our lives. God is a God of purpose, and His plans for you are far greater than anything you could ask or imagine. Proverbs 19:21 reminds us, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. God's delays often come because He is orchestrating circumstances to ensure that what He gives you aligns perfectly with His plan. He sees the end from the beginning, and He knows what is best for you. Trust His wisdom. Faith isn't just about believing God can do something, it's about trusting Him when He doesn't do it on your timeline. Hebrews 6:12 encourages us to imitate those who, through faith and patience, inherit the promises. Patience is the currency of faith. It proves you believe in God's sovereignty even when you don't understand His silence. In the waiting, your faith grows roots. Delays force you to lean not on your own understanding but on His promises. And when the answer finally comes, it will be clear that it wasn't by your might or your power, but by His Spirit. Finally, let's remember this: God's timing is not just about you, it's about His glory. Sometimes He delays because the stage isn't set for His name to be glorified. Think about Lazarus. Jesus delayed coming to him, not because He didn't care, but because He wanted the miracle to reveal His power. When your breakthrough comes, it will not only bless you, but also testify to everyone around you that God is faithful. Preparation is an essential principle in understanding why God delays answering prayers. At its core, preparation is the process of being made ready to receive, manage, and sustain what you are asking for. Just as you wouldn't entrust a delicate and valuable treasure to someone who isn't equipped to handle it, God also takes time to prepare us for the blessings we seek. This concept can be illustrated through both practical and spiritual examples. Imagine a farmer who desires a bountiful harvest. He doesn't simply scatter seeds randomly on unprepared soil and hope for the best. Instead, he works diligently to plow the ground, remove weeds, and enrich the soil with nutrients. Without this preparation, the seeds might sprout, but they would lack the foundation to thrive and produce fruit. Similarly, when we pray for a breakthrough or a specific blessing, God often delays the answer because He is preparing the soil of our hearts, minds, and lives to receive it. Without this preparation, the blessing may come, but it might not have the lasting impact God intends. Preparation involves both external and internal work. Externally, God may be orchestrating circumstances and aligning opportunities to ensure that the timing is perfect for you to walk into your blessing. For example, you may pray for a new job or career opportunity, but God might be delaying the answer because He is setting the stage for the right connections or waiting for a situation to open that perfectly matches your skills and purpose. If the opportunity comes too early, you may miss it or be unable to maximize its potential. Internally, God is often working within you to refine your character, strengthen your faith, and develop the skills and attributes necessary to manage the blessing. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. He had a vision at a young age that he would one day be a leader, but it took years of preparation through trials, rejection, and challenges for him to be ready to step into that role. Had Joseph become a leader immediately after his dream, he might have lacked the wisdom, humility, and perseverance required to lead effectively. Preparation is not just about being ready to receive the blessing, it is also about ensuring that the blessing does not become a burden. There are countless examples of people who received what they asked for before they were prepared, only to lose it because they couldn't handle it. For instance, consider a young person who suddenly receives a large inheritance but has not learned financial stewardship. Without preparation, what was meant to be a blessing could lead to financial ruin. In addition to practical preparation, spiritual preparation is equally critical. When God delays answering your prayers, it is often a sign that He is drawing you closer to Him. During the waiting period, He teaches you to rely on Him, to seek His guidance, and to deepen your relationship with Him. This process is transformative because it shifts your focus from the blessing itself to the one who provides it. As a result, when the blessing comes, you are not only equipped to handle it, but also able to recognize it as a gift from God and use it for His glory. Preparation requires patience, trust, and an understanding that God's timing is perfect. It is a reminder that He sees the bigger picture and knows what you need even before you ask. While the waiting period may feel frustrating, it is a vital part of God's process to ensure that you are not just ready for the blessing, but also positioned to steward it wisely and purposefully. When it comes to prayer, one of the most profound reasons for a delay in God's response is alignment with His divine purpose. God is a God of purpose. Everything He does, allows, or orchestrates is intentional and part of a greater plan. This is a crucial concept to understand because it shifts the focus from what we want to why God might delay fulfilling our requests. Often, the delay is not a matter of whether the prayer will be answered, but whether the answer aligns with the ultimate purpose God has designed for our lives. Alignment with divine purpose means that God ensures His answers fit within His larger plan for us and the world around us. This is significant because humans often have a limited perspective. We see only what is immediate and present in front of us, whereas God sees the entirety of time and eternity. He understands how every decision and event impacts not just our lives, but also the lives of those connected to us. What may seem like a delay to us is actually God working to ensure that the timing, context, and outcome of our requests serve a greater purpose. For instance, consider the biblical story of Hannah. She prayed fervently for a child and faced years of barrenness before God granted her request. It might have seemed like an unjust delay, but Hannah's son Samuel was born at a time when his leadership as a prophet would play a critical role in shaping the nation of Israel. If Hannah had received her request earlier, Samuel's impact on Israel's spiritual and political landscape might not have aligned with God's overarching plan. This illustrates how God's timing and purposes are intricately connected. God's alignment with His purpose is not only about timing, but also about the nature of what we are asking for. Sometimes what we pray for is good, but not necessarily aligned with what God knows is best for us. For example, a person might pray for a promotion at work because it seems like an opportunity for growth and financial stability. However, God might delay that promotion because He knows it could lead to excessive stress, loss of time with family, or even a path that diverts from the person's true calling. Instead, He might have a different opportunity waiting that better fulfills His purpose for that individual. Alignment also involves the readiness of the environment and the people involved. God often works in ways that involve others, whether through relationships, partnerships, or community impact. A delayed answer to prayer might be because the people, circumstances, or structures required for that prayer to be fulfilled are not yet in place. This demonstrates God's ability to work beyond individual desires, ensuring that His plans benefit not just one person, but also the broader network of lives connected to them. Furthermore, alignment with divine purpose challenges us to evaluate the motives behind our prayers. James 4:3 warns that we may not receive what we ask for because we ask with the wrong motives. A delayed answer provides an opportunity for introspection, allowing us to examine whether our prayers are rooted in selfish desires or a genuine desire to fulfill God's will. This reflection helps us align our hearts with God's purposes and trust that His plans are far greater than anything we could imagine. Lastly, alignment with divine purpose highlights the sovereignty of God. His purpose is unshakable and will always prevail. While we have the freedom to make choices and present our requests, it is God's ultimate plan that brings order and meaning to our lives. Delays remind us that our prayers are part of a much larger narrative, one that God is weaving together for His glory and our good. By aligning our desires with His purpose, we open ourselves to receive answers that not only bless us but also contribute to the greater story He is writing in the world. Faith and patience are two pillars that hold the foundation of our spiritual journey. When God delays in answering prayers, it is often an opportunity for these qualities to be tested, refined, and strengthened. Faith is not merely believing in the existence of God, but trusting in His character, His promises, and His timing, even when circumstances seem contrary to what we desire. Patience, on the other hand, is the endurance to wait on God without losing hope or confidence in His plan. Together, they form a powerful combination that enables believers to navigate the waiting seasons of life with trust and perseverance. When prayers are delayed, the first test is the test of faith. Faith requires us to look beyond what is visible and believe in what God has said. Hebrews 11:1 defines faith as the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Delays often challenge this definition by making us question whether God is truly working on our behalf. Yet, this very questioning becomes an opportunity to deepen our reliance on Him. Faith grows not in moments of certainty, but in moments of doubt, when we choose to trust God's promises despite what we see or feel. The second test that often accompanies faith is patience. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active trust in God's timing. It is the ability to remain steadfast in prayer and hope without succumbing to frustration, discouragement, or the temptation to take matters into our own hands. In a world that values instant results and immediate gratification, patience can feel like an outdated virtue. Yet, it is essential for spiritual growth and maturity. James 1:3-4 teaches that the testing of faith produces patience, and that patience leads to completeness and perfection, lacking nothing. Delayed answers are therefore tools God uses to shape us into people who can fully rely on Him. The waiting period is also a time for spiritual refinement. God often delays answers to expose areas of our lives where our faith or patience may be weak. It is during this time that we learn to surrender control, let go of our own timelines, and submit fully to God's will. Waiting teaches us humility as we acknowledge that we are not the masters of our destiny, but participants in God's divine plan. It also cultivates gratitude because the eventual fulfillment of a prayer feels sweeter and more meaningful after enduring the process of waiting. One of the most profound lessons from delayed prayers is the realization that God's timing is not about when we want something, but about when it will serve His purpose and our ultimate good. For example, consider the story of Abraham and Sarah in the Bible. They waited decades for the fulfillment of God's promise to give them a son. During that time, their faith was tested, their patience stretched, and their reliance on God deepened. When Isaac was finally born, it was clear that his arrival was not just about their personal joy, but about God's larger plan to establish a nation through him. Faith and patience also teach us to value the process, not just the outcome. In the waiting, we discover aspects of God's character we might otherwise miss. We learn about His faithfulness, His love, and His ability to work all things together for good. Waiting becomes a sacred space where our relationship with God deepens and matures. It is often in these moments of delay that we experience His peace, His presence, and His sustaining grace in ways that transform us from the inside out. Finally, delayed answers remind us that faith and patience are not just about getting what we want, but about becoming who God wants us to be. Every moment of waiting is an opportunity to grow in trust, obedience, and perseverance. It shapes us into people who can stand firm in the face of challenges, who can encourage others in their seasons of waiting, and who can testify to the goodness and faithfulness of God no matter how long it takes for a prayer to be answered. When considering why God delays in answering prayers, it is crucial to understand that His ultimate goal is always His glory. Everything God does in the world and in our lives is designed to bring Him honor and reveal His power, love, and sovereignty. This principle transforms how we view delays, helping us recognize that they are not merely about us or our desires, but about God orchestrating circumstances to ensure that His name is magnified. God's glory is about His greatness and majesty being displayed in a way that draws people closer to Him. When prayers are delayed, it often creates a stage for God to act in ways that are unmistakably divine. For example, in the story of Lazarus, Jesus delayed coming to him even after hearing that he was gravely ill. By the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. This delay might have seemed like a failure to intervene, but Jesus used the moment to perform a miracle that brought God immense glory. Raising Lazarus from the dead not only demonstrated Jesus' authority over life and death, but also deepened the faith of those who witnessed the event. Delays often amplify the impact of God's intervention. When we receive immediate answers, it is easy to attribute the outcome to natural circumstances, personal efforts, or coincidence. However, when the delay makes the situation seem impossible, the eventual resolution points clearly to God's hand at work. This is especially true in moments when human strength, resources, or understanding are insufficient to solve the problem. God's glory is revealed most powerfully when He accomplishes what is beyond human ability or expectation. Delays also have a way of shaping the hearts of those waiting, making them more attuned to God's presence and power. During a waiting season, people often pray more fervently, seek God more earnestly, and develop a deeper dependence on Him. This process not only refines their character, but also prepares them to recognize and celebrate God's glory when the prayer is finally answered. The journey of waiting becomes a testimony in itself, showing others the faithfulness of God and inspiring them to trust in Him as well. Another reason God delays is that He may be aligning circumstances so that His glory is displayed on a larger scale. Sometimes the impact of a delayed answer extends beyond the individual praying to touch the lives of families, communities, or even nations. For example, the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt involved significant delays and hardships. Yet those delays served a purpose. They displayed God's power over Pharaoh and the gods of Egypt, leaving no doubt that He alone is sovereign. The miracles performed during that time continue to inspire faith thousands of years later, demonstrating how God's timing ensures that His glory resonates through generations. In addition, God's glory in delayed answers often leads to a deeper understanding of His nature. People come to know Him as a provider, a healer, a deliverer, or a way maker in ways they might not have experienced otherwise. These revelations become personal milestones in their faith journey, deepening their relationship with God. For instance, someone who waits for God's provision during a financial crisis might come to know Him as Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides, in a deeply personal and transformative way. God's glory is not just about the immediate moment of answered prayer, but also about the lasting legacy of faith, hope, and trust that the process of waiting creates. When people see how God works in the lives of those who wait on Him, it encourages them to believe that He will work in their lives as well. The testimony of one answered prayer can ripple outward, inspiring others to place their trust in God and glorify Him for His goodness and faithfulness. Ultimately, the delays in our prayers remind us that God's plans are always bigger than our immediate needs or desires. His glory encompasses not just the resolution of a problem, but the transformation of lives and the revelation of His kingdom. By embracing the delays and trusting in His purposes, we participate in a story that is far greater than ourselves, a story where God's glory shines through every moment, both in the waiting and in the fulfillment of His promises. When we talk about the delay in answered prayers, it is essential to understand that God's timing is never arbitrary or accidental. It is always deliberate and perfect. From our limited perspective, delays can feel frustrating or even unfair, but from God's perspective, they are part of a carefully crafted plan that aligns with His purpose and His love for us. Recognizing the perfection of God's timing not only gives us peace during the waiting period, but also deepens our trust in His wisdom and sovereignty. One of the foundational truths about God's timing is that He operates outside the boundaries of human time. While we measure time in hours, days, and years, God sees the entire timeline of our lives and the world from beginning to end. This means that He understands not only what we need, but also when it will be most beneficial for us to receive it. This concept is illustrated in Ecclesiastes 3:11, which states that God makes everything beautiful in its time. His timing ensures that what He provides is not just good, but perfect and beautiful in the context of His greater plan. God's timing is also intertwined with His desire to work all things together for good. Romans 8:28 reminds us that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Delays are often a part of this process because they allow God to align various elements of our lives and circumstances in a way that brings about the best possible outcome. For instance, someone praying for a new job might face a delay because God is preparing a position that not only meets their immediate needs, but also fulfills a deeper purpose in their life, such as contributing to their personal growth or allowing them to make a meaningful impact on others. Another critical aspect of God's perfect timing is the opportunity for spiritual growth. Waiting on God often stretches our faith, teaches us patience as patience, and draws us closer to Him. In the waiting period, we are compelled to rely on God rather than our own understanding or efforts. This dependence cultivates a deeper relationship with Him and transforms our perspective on what truly matters. We learn to value not just the answers to our prayers, but also the journey of growth and trust that comes with waiting. God's timing also reflects His deep care for the condition of our hearts. Sometimes delays occur because we are not yet ready to receive what we are asking for. If God were to grant our prayers prematurely, we might misuse or mishandle the blessing. Delays give us time to mature emotionally, spiritually, and even practically, ensuring that we can steward the blessing well when it arrives. This principle is evident in the story of the Israelites in the wilderness. Although they were promised the land of Canaan, God delayed their entry because they needed time to grow in faith, obedience, and understanding of His covenant. Another aspect of God's timing is the broader impact it has on others. Delayed answers to prayers often have ripple effects that extend beyond our own lives. God's plan is always inclusive, taking into account how the timing of our blessings will affect the people around us. A delayed prayer might be setting the stage for someone else's breakthrough or testimony. This interconnectedness demonstrates the beauty of God's timing, which weaves together the lives of many people in ways that bring glory to Him and benefit His kingdom. Lastly, God's timing teaches us to trust in His character. Waiting on God is not just about anticipating an answer, but about believing in who He is. His timing is a reflection of His faithfulness, love, and commitment to our well-being. It reminds us that He is not just concerned with meeting our needs, but also with transforming our hearts and aligning our lives with His purpose. When we trust in God's timing, we surrender our desire for control and acknowledge that His ways are higher than ours. By embracing the perfection of God's timing, we learn to view delays not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth, preparation, and alignment with His will. This perspective allows us to wait with hope, confidence, and a deeper sense of peace, knowing that when God answers, it will be at the exact right moment for our good and His glory.